A poor orphan becomes the most powerful magician in a fantasy world. The story opens with a young child named Haruko heading towards somewhere. Mae Chan, a childhood friend, is crying and screaming and opposes him from going. It so happens to be a memory from Haruko's past, who passes away shortly after when a train crashes with the bus he was riding in. Haruko opens his eyes to a different reality, where real lives and the Beltram Kingdom is the region. While Haruko is aware of his previous existence, he still questions whether having a fever caused him to think this way. However, a few people appear out of nowhere and start addressing him as Ryo. Ryo, who is starving, consumes berries from bushes, and recalls that Haruko was a 20-year-old university student who died in a horrible accident. However, despite his memories, Haruko also remembers that he is now Ryo and must exact revenge on his mother who was murdered. Ryo runs into several royals, who ask him about Princess Flora. He almost gets lost in his response because he knows nothing about her. He returns to the house where the stranger attacked him. Suddenly, a woman-like phantom emerges and instructs Ryo on how to use the magic force around him to vanquish the adversary. Ryo visits the princess who has been abducted after battling the stranger. After rescuing Princess Flora, Ryo is detained and accused of working with them. In an effort to salvage face after losing the princess, the knights torment him and then try to coerce him into signing a false confession. Ryo is severely beaten, but soon exonerated of all charges, and granted an audience with the king after he declines. Ryo is accepted into the Royal Academy belt as a reward for saving Flora, despite being shunned by most of his classmates because of their peasant heritage. Ryo continues to act like he doesn't know how to read and write, while Celia warns him not to overload himself. Ryo's instructor Celia is the only one who cheers him on though. Ryo meets Celia for a private tutoring session after the class, when he learns that she is only 12 years old, but has already graduated by skipping the grades. While helping Ryo with his homework, Celia is startled to see that he has written all of the answers correctly. She then informs Ryo that Christina is the only student in his class who consistently provides the right answers. Then, at Ryo's request, Celia offers him a cup of tea and directs him to a few excellent picture books. Ryo and the instructor engage in a test fight later on during sword practice, after the instructor is impressed by Ryo's excellent swordsmanship. Ryo declines the instructor's invitation to join the knights. Ryo is still studying for the tests in the library, as he had just enrolled in the academy when the exam results were announced. Celia appreciated his effort. Ryo and Princess Christina are at the top, shocking everyone, but Alphonse claims Ryo cheated. Ryo is chosen to compete in the knights competition. Ryo has been chosen, but Alphonse disapproves and calls him a despicable individual. Ryo assists Celia, who she claims has grown up since Ryo was 5 years old, as she arranges the volumes in the library. Ryo, though, makes fun of her diminutive size. She's still as angry as she was 5 years ago. Later, Ryo expresses a desire to travel to Yagumo, his native country, but Alfred and Merle at the Knights Tournament. Ryo and Royal Knight Charles face off in the first bout of the tournament, and Ryo wins by exacting revenge on Charles for having been accused of kidnapping the princess in the past. Everyone reviewing the pupils' comments. Ryo is the only student in the class who didn't indicate his plans for after graduation. So when Celia finds his paper after graduation, she is astonished. Celia gives lessons to students on using magic formulas and managing magic. Ryo receives mockery from Alphonse for being the only one incapable of using magic. Alphonse and his partner perform lighting magic at Celia's request, producing a variety of lighting displays that astounded the pupils. They also consider the magic to be of inferior quality. Ryo can duplicate the flow of magical powers and replicate magical tactics, even though he cannot cast the magical formula. Ryo, who is unable to use magic, is given the responsibility of carrying everyone's luggage on their journey, and Stuart accuses him of flirting with girls, while Celia chastises him for making unfounded accusations. Stuart and his partner encounter goblin enemies while exercising their physical skills. Take them out quickly. At the bottom of the mountain, the Alphonse-led team gathers, then encounters orcs monsters. The orcs' attack causes Stuart to push Princess Flora, causing her to fall down the mountain. However, Ryo arrives just in time to save her. Students employ all of their magical abilities and put in their best effort to fight and beat orcs. But they plot to have Ryo be the one to drive Flora, the princess, off the mountain. Flora refuses to go when everyone else decides to continue on their journey and instead prepares to travel alone to find Ryo. The gang soon comes upon a large work monster, but Alphonse orders them to flee and withdraw when they can't fight it with their island magic. Rio arrives as the massive project is about to begin. Attack Flora, the princess. After eventually eliminating the orc monster, Rio welcomes the group. Flora flees before being seen. In the meantime, a stranger is watching actual while alleging to him that the Yagubo region's inhabitants' offspring was the cause of use of the spirit in art over here. Celia can hear the headmaster discussing Rio's disappearance and blaming Flora was pushed off the mountain by him. Later, when Celia is studying, Rio appears and Celia gives him a joyful bear hug. Given that the royals intended to accuse Rio, he's traveling to the Yagumo region instead of graduating. While making a promise to Celia, he would travel to the Yagumo region and write her letters using the alias Haruko. He recounts his arrival in Amon, a market town in the Kingdom of Black, in a letter to Professor Celia. He has been gone from the Beltram Kingdom for 3 days. Rio, who is touring the Clark Kingdom, comes upon a posta, a stall created by Lady Lislov, which makes him long for Tokyo and his ability to buy supplies for his voyage there. The vendor suggests that he go to the Rikka Merchant Guild, where he meets Law. Law helps Rio buy some food for his voyage and assists him in sending a letter to Celia. Soon after the purchase, while on his quest, Rio comes across a beast person who wants to kill him. However, Rio fights back and knocks the beast person out. Though she is asleep, the beast person still remembers her master, who trained her and turned her into a slave by placing a submission collar around her neck. The submission collar is broken by Rio after he notices it. But after questioning Latifa, he learns that Stuart from the Beltram Kingdom was the one who sold her into slavery. Then, after tormenting her with the submission collar, he learns that Stuart was the one who had been instructing her to kill him. Latifa, who is afraid of being left alone, asks Rio to take her with him on his voyage after learning that she has no intention of killing him, and that Rio will only release her from her shackles and leave her with her equipment. After giving the request some thought, Rio decides to take her. Rio sends a message to Celia. Rio makes dinner in the meanwhile and gives Latifa as much as she wants. Rio is surprised when she mentions returning to his house in Tokyo when she is sleeping. Additionally, he thinks Latifa is an earth soul who has taken on human form and entered this realm. Since Latifa is experiencing again another nightmare, Rio uses his spirit art to help her go asleep calmly. Rio notices light outside the tent, and when he exits, a demi-human attacks him. Rio implores them to stop assaulting and pay attention to him, but even after they had decided to do so, they persisted in attacking since they did not believe in humans. Some demi-humans break into the hut and discover Latifa having slept with spirit art. They suspect Rio has abducted her. Uzuma becomes enraged and uses a powerful magic spell to render them comatose. Rio has been taken prisoner by demi-people, but after Latifa asks them to free him, they quickly leave. They then apologize for mistreating him and give him a peaceful room to sleep in the morning.